Hey guys, welcome back to Chicken Scratch. Today we're going to talk about chickens. Believe it or not, that's a pretty easy subject to talk about. I want to talk to you, especially if you're just getting started into the chicken world. My roosters are crowing, so y'all excuse them, but I wanted to at least talk by the coop today. If you are getting into chickens and you are starting out with chicks, you need a few things. I wish someone had told us this before we got into this last year. You need a heat source. There's several options. If you're hatching or buying chicks this time of the year, we're in central Alabama today. I'm out here in a short sleeve. It's in the 60s. You're not too awfully worried about heat, but little chicks need heat, and there's several ways to go about it. Now, if you do this in the summer, you could even get away without using heat in the dead of summer. An additional heat source. You need there's two options: a heating lamp with the red bulb that puts off the heat, or you can use a heat plate. Last year, our first year into this, we used heating lamps. We had one run of chicks that we bought from a local feed store and used a heating lamp inside. No problems with a heating lamp. And by summer's end, I had gotten an incubator and we hatched some of our own chicks. I'm just gonna show him off for a second. Where are you at? There he is, the culprit of the crowing. So we used the heating lamp last fall with the chicks that we hatched ourselves. Still no problems. But I started reading on the internet about the fire hazard of heating lamps, which I will say, when you put a chick from the incubator into your brooder box with a heating lamp, to me it doesn't matter how far away that lamp is, they just want to lay there. They just want to lay down and enjoy that heat. It's like being on the beach, you know. Well, that's good to an extent, but they're not it got to a point where my chicks were not active. I had pulled, no matter, you could put the heating lamp in the next room, they're going to sit there under that light and that heat. And I read all this about the heating lamps being fire hazards inside of homes, garages, whatnot. I told my husband I don't want to partake in that this year. The second problem I have with a heating lamp is getting it adjusted. You have to hang it a certain way for it to give off heat to those chicks and direct the light and tilt the light and yada yada yada. It was a hassle for what we were doing. So this year I ordered heating plates. We ordered a Brinsea plate. The Brinsea plate, I will not go back. I'm done. I'm sold. The first chicks I hatched this year, several weeks ago, were silky chickens. They were bantams, itty bitty chicks. So much smaller than your normal chicken, which also means they're harder to take care of. They need special attention. You know, they're not like a regular chicken. They're a little bit smaller. So if they can survive something, then I know my bigger ones can. Well, I put those under the heating plate. I freaked out at first. They went up under the plate. I didn't see them. I had it lowered this high off the shavings, the bottom of the brooder. I said, what's going on? I don't see the chicks. So we put them in another brooder with a heating lamp the first day. Well, they just sprawled out, laid there, the same deal. They just look like, you know, what I did not like last year. So the second day we put them back under the Brinsea plate. They went under the plate. They went out of the plate to get their food and water. They were active back and forth. Perfect. I think what had happened was a newborn chick will stay under any kind of heating source, whether it be a heating lamp or a heating plate. But they tend to gravitate towards that heat, especially the first 24 hours you take them out of an incubator. I had some chicks this morning I hatched. Some were silkies, some were silver lace Wyandottes. That's what we have behind us here in our biggest coop. Two little leghorns, but you can see one right there. She's walking by. Some of their chicks, and so different sizes, bantam and regular chicken. Put them up under the plate. They huddled up under it for the first 8 hours now. They're already, well, they were drinking when I put them in there. I dipped their little beak in the water. They're already eating. They're already out from up under the plate. The plate, y'all, just for peace of mind, for myself, is the way to go. Now, my husband says the heating lamp's just fine, and I agree. And we have a heating lamp on right now, but it's in the garage that's not attached to the house for the fire hazard risk. The plate, I just love it. The main thing is the chicks look happier and healthier. If you can order a plate, a heating plate, that is what you need for chicks. I loved it so much. The first one I got, I went back and ordered another one. Now, you do need to look at the chick requirements. If you think that you only need a plate for 15 to 20 chicks like I bought on the first plate, if you stick to that, that's great. But last week, I went ahead and ordered the one that'll hold many more chicks, the Brincy, because you know how chicken math goes. You get one chicken, you end up with 50. So I would advise to go a little bit bigger. They can always get out from up under the heat if they need to, if your brooder's big enough. Now, our brooders are clear. I like the Rubbermaid tubs, clear. That way I can see what's going on inside of the brooder box. Clear Rubbermaid tubs. The lid, of course, get the lid with them, and then put you some holes in the top, drill some holes in, poke some holes through, whatever you need to do. My husband added a huge piece of chicken wire, cut out the plastic in ours, and zip tied it in there. So half of the whole lid is chicken wire, plenty of airflow. You need great airflow. And we leave the lid on pretty much from day one. But it's more... He's just not going to be happy until he gets on camera. You need good airflow with chicks. If not, they will develop diseases. It'll get stagnant in there. Bacteria will grow. That is something with the heating plate. The older they get, you adjust the legs. They'll get kind of cramped up under that little plate, and you can tell they'll have to really duck, and you'll raise the legs. I'm doing this because you have to twist up the legs on the Brincy. They will jump on top of the plate, and little chicks poo-poo. So the first time I tried to clean it, I had no clue. I was in there with Lysol wipes trying to scrape that off. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. That's a mess. That's a mess and a half right there. So my husband, the man with the plan, he comes bringing home some paint scrapers from Home Depot. Y'all, scrape it off. 5 seconds, it's done, and then I'll go over it with my little Lysol wipe, let it dry, and then put it back in the brooder. It takes 2 seconds. But don't try to hand scrape it, but I'm just letting you know the brooder plate will get soiled the older the chicks get, and the more they're able to jump on top of it. So that's the only drawback, but otherwise I'm a Brincy heating plate fan. Again, you cannot put these outside from what I've read. I don't know in the summer if it would matter with the temps higher. I know it said something like 60, 55 degrees. It cannot operate lower than that. This is for inside. If you are hatching chicks inside and keeping them inside, the heating plate's the way to go. Hey, they're just wanting to show off, y'all. I wish someone had have told me this. There is nothing wrong with a heating lamp. Like I said, we've got a heating lamp. the bulbs will blow, yada yada yada. I would say you need to have a backup plan. If you have day old chicks, if you're incubating chicks, don't have just one heat source. That's like we have our heating lamps still from last year. We didn't throw those away, we'll use them, and it's a backup plan. This spring, when or a couple weeks ago, when I first hatched my first run of chicks, the ones that I put up under the light, and after I was worried about the plate, within 2 hours of putting them up under that light, the bulb blew. I didn't know. I had no clue. The only way I knew, it was in another room in the house, was I heard the chicks chirping loudly, and I knew, hey, I better go check these chicks. The bulb was blown. You have to check up on any animal you have. It's a lot of commitment, guys, especially raising them from babies. It is a lot of commitment. If you are hardcore and you want to have a return investment, you'll be worried about these animals, and you need to be. So it's a lot of time. It's a lot of time and effort. It's better once they get, more grown, like these behind me. They're, happy as clams, but you still, it's a lot of work for them, but especially babies. So if you're going to start out with chicks, you have to have a heat source. You have to have water. Okay, here's a good point. Last year when we got the chicks, I bought a little upright water and an upright feeder. I thought I was set. Well, no one tells you when you walk in the feed store or wherever, hey, by the way, the chicks can drown in that water. It's got a little bottom lid to it. Depending on whatever you're using, they cannot be able to get to too much water too young of age. So we ended up putting gravel in the bottom of the water, sterilized gravel. We cleaned it off, bleached it, and then we got into the marbles. So you have to put something in the water, so in case they fall asleep in the water, they won't drown and have their head submerged. There again, this is more of a problem with a heating lamp, where the whole brooder is warm and they just fall asleep wherever they may be. The heating plate is not really that much of a worry, because they have to travel from the water or the feeder back up under the plate to get back to the heat. So they're not going to be happy until they get back to that heat source with the heating plate. So I really don't even worry about it as much with them. I still put little marbles in my water in the bottom of it. Usually about the first week. After the first week, mine have done just fine. If I was using the heating lamp indoors or the heating lamp wherever, I would probably wait till about 2 weeks. So you have to have that, and then chick starter. We were gifted some chicks that were on medicated starter last year. I don't like it. To me, the more natural, the better. We use plain, regular chick starter, unmedicated. They'll just have to tough it out. They seem better without it. And then you have to start mixing the medicated and the unmedicated at a certain age, so many weeks old. That, y'all, is just not for me. So unmedicated chick starter and a brooder box. We like the Rubbermaid tubs inside, and you have to have something in the bottom of the tub now, or whatever you're using. Last year, honestly, we used a dog crate. One of our dogs, she had a huge crate, a transport crate, and we used that as a brooder box. And honestly, it worked great. It really did. On the bottom of it, I used parchment paper last year, which it was a great, easy clean up, but they say their little legs may not get traction. I put the waxy side up so they were more able to walk on the parchment paper. It wasn't so slick. It had some kind of a grip, and I could change the sheets every day. But the older that got, I was changing sheets 2 and 3 times a day inside of the bottom of the dog crate. Pine shavings now, you can do about every 2 days. When they're younger, 3 days old, you might could wing it the first week, once every 3 days. I like to do once a day, once every 1 to 2 days, changing shavings. You don't want ammonia soaked up in your shavings. Now, when I say every 3 days, I mean like the first 3 days of life where they don't have any excretions to even soil the pine shavings. You must use pine shavings, not cedar. I've been told do not use cedar shavings at all. It's toxic to the birds, even adult chickens. So I don't know. We've never tried it. I'm not going to. Just pine shavings. And maintenance. You have to do this every day with the chicks for them to be happy and healthy. And you'll see them grow. They'll grow very quick. They'll try to fly. They'll start flapping their wings about 5 days old. I've got some Wyandottes inside that are already trying to flap. So be careful with that. You must have a top on whatever you're getting. If you opt to go with older chickens, you have to be careful about what you're getting. A lot of times, unfortunately, people will rid chickens that are not laying hens, and you know, that's sad, but they will, and so you'll be out of a good laying hen and money and time. You have to watch for diseases, illness. We can get into that in another episode, a hard few lessons we've learned. And you know, you get into different feed, regular chicken feed. We call it 11 way is what we buy. And we mix it with some laying pellets, just extra protein. And any kind of chicken scrap you have, now there's a list online, or any kind of resource. There's certain things you're not supposed to give chickens, pretty much everything. I know white bread you're not supposed to. It can clog their craw in their throat that helps them break down and digest food. So today's been pretty much about chicks and how to start with chicks. Make sure you have a heat source. Make sure you have a brooder, a box, or a tent or something to put the chicks in. Water. Make sure you have something in the water so they won't drown. Marbles, gravel, whatever it may be. And chick starter. Put it in a feeder, a chicken feeder. We'll go through some pictures later on about what I like and what I don't care for. Water, heat, food, and shelter. Pretty much like us humans. And a little TLC and you'll be set, especially with chicks. I just wanted to go over this today because I know Easter is pretty soon and chicks will be flooding the market at your big box stores and your local homesteaders and people that get into chickens and raising and selling chickens. Support your local people, y'all, as much as you can. Please support your local people and buy from someone that's trying. Really try to do that. There's nothing wrong with going to a big box store. We did last year, but it would really help to support your local chicken farmers. So we'll talk at you next time.